Welcome everyone to Loud and Proud Orlando. We are live, about 21 people live. Thank you so much for your preference and for being live with us. We're going to be today discussing several topics. Obviously, we're coming from a win, 1-0 against the Timbers. So we'll discuss all of that. It's a phenomenal win. Also, um, I don't know if we're going to be killing some rumors, but we'll discuss what's happening with Alex Freeman. What's our thoughts on a potential transfer rumor brewing in Europe? We'll discuss all of that, dive in detail regarding the latest on that. Marco Pasalic was called up to Croatia. OCV update, and we'll definitely preview the next game, which is going to be Atlanta United back there at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I believe. I think it's still called, or Home Depot Stadium. But we'll discuss all of that and more. Our predictions, our honest takes. I'm here with John. How are you, John? How's everything?
Good, man. I'm good. Yeah, I mean, 2 wins over the weekend. Pride, Orlando City, ready to keep rolling in May. These games, thick and fast. Another Wednesday coming up. Another Thursday pod week for us. So excited to get over May and into June, and perhaps have the schedule even out a little bit. Like, we've been doing really well, but there's been so many games in May.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, we saw there's a phenomenal trend, which is Orlando City moving up and up. In the beginning of the season, Facu left. A lot of people were throwing the towel already on the season. They didn't know how to take this Orlando City team without Facu Torres. Well, Poppy, his coaching staff, and the actual new players that have been brought in by the front office are cooking, and they definitely look like a cohesive unit. A little tired cohesive unit, because of the back-to-back games. But Orlando is sitting comfortably right now in fourth. They're looking, if they keep winning this upcoming games, to keep climbing up. Um, I don't know if I'm getting too ahead, but supporter shield talks, it's a possibility if Orlando keeps winning, keeps on a roll. Obviously, we have to understand the schedule, the fitness, and all of that, which is part of playing in one of the toughest leagues. A lot of players feel that this is a league that you just come here to retire. You come here to, hey, it's going to be easy peasy. And it's not. The traveling, the pitches that they have to play on. I don't know if anyone have seen the Berhalter interview regarding NYCFC's pitch. All of that it comes into account. But Orlando, it's doing the right way, and it's a roller coaster ride, kind of like the new Epic Universe theme park. A little plug right there. Um, they won over Miami. They definitely bowed out of the U.S. Open Cup, which was a blow for everybody. But this last Saturday, 1-0 win against the Portland Timbers, a Timbers team that definitely played very well. One of the top defensive teams in the West. And it was kind of looked like an evenly matched game at some points. Orlando still had a lot of chances that they couldn't make, but we'll dive into the analysis. Edward Atuesta, the difference maker. We'll discuss all of that and more. 12 straight MLS games without a loss, tying the club's all-time record. Definitely the fans went home extremely happy. So, John, for starters, what are your thoughts regarding the game against Portland Timbers?
Good, man. I think after Wednesday, we were a little bit. I was concerned about our fitness going into this one. Oscar then puts out a fairly similar lineup. Like, Angulo comes back in, Atuesta comes in. Muriel gets to start in this one. Duncan gets to start. So there's a few changes, but the back line is the same. And that was really what looked tired to me. And Cesar looked tired, and he started. So I was concerned about that. But overall, I think the boys performed really well. That first half was very strong. We came out very aggressive in that first half. Really, you can see here on the momentum, like that first 15, 20 minutes was just all us. And we were all over them. We probably should have scored at least a couple in that first 20 minutes. And then the second half kind of continued on. We got that goal, a great bit of play. And then the second half, it was all Portland, really. Like it kind of flipped a little bit. I think our legs, again, we looked tired,
Yeah.
leggy, and Oscar opted for the Pappy special. And he said, like, I think probably smartly, I'm not gonna keep going at it and open up the space and let Portland grow into the game. Instead, he went for the like let's defend and sit back, hit you on the counter when we want to, but not exert all that energy, constantly trying to be the protagonist and let the other team perhaps have the ball. It never looks good when that happens, but I think in this instance, I think it was the right decision. You can see on here the momentum. Like apparently we had nothing in the second half. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like there were some counters and we didn't
Yeah.
score from them, but they were like minimal moments of us countering. Most of the time, it was Portland trying to get back into the game, but they also looked tired. And I just think the whole game lacked quality, Luis. I think there was a moment of Atuesta and Duncan that was like the most quality in the game. And outside of that, there was just a lot of moments of poor passes, poor shots on both sides that made for a lot of giveaways, a lot of turnover, maybe not the most exciting game to watch. But I think when the boys are this tired as they are and having played this many games, it's just important that we get the 3 points at home. That's what we did. It wasn't beautiful, but the 3 points is really what matters. And Duncan getting back on the score sheet is also really good.
Yeah, Phil Neville in the first half.
Yo, he was so mad at the end.
Yeah, Phil Neville in the first half, you could hear him from the press box. And he was just he caught himself making a mistake because he didn't put some of the players that came in the second half. He didn't have Mora, he didn't have Anthony, so he caught himself into this momentum of Orlando City attacking in the first half, going all out, trying to close out the game. But also, Orlando was missing a lot of chances. I do want to say, I mean, Atuesta was certainly a difference maker. I mean, and congratulations to him because he made it to the team of the week for sure. But you can certainly see a level of them being a little tired. Um, Obviously, not an excuse, but I do agree with you that the Papi special, especially at the end in the second half, it just had to be brought in after obviously they missed a lot of chances. I mean, they generated a lot of chances and not a lot of finishing against a better team, against a Columbus, against a team that's right up top, somebody that has a really good player like maybe Evander. It would definitely cripple you, because they will make the most out of those chances. Unfortunately, Portland offensively did not look sharp either. In my opinion, I think Portland did not look sharp either. But either way, it was a tense game. Definitely, Oscar Pareja chose not to rotate their defensive group at all with Robin Jensen, David Brecalo, Rodri Schlegel, Alex Freeman, Pedro Galese, and they actually did really well. I mean, the defense, Orlando's defense um, was on point. I mean, any serious threat that Portland had, it was put out. They completed. Portland completed over. I think my sheet says here 200 more passes than Orlando City in this game. And out of those 200 passes, John, you know how many shots on goal they had throughout the game?
As one, right?
No, 7 shots the whole
And
game.
one on target or something like that.
Yeah,
It was
one on
crazy.
target. Yeah. And
Yeah, I mean,
so,
Anthony had some moments in the second half where they were coming alive a little bit, but yeah, I think it shows, man. Fourth in the East is not the same as fourth in the West.
correct. Now, let's talk about, and we can read your comments in just a second. We have Stream Jesus says, "Let's go! Perfect timing. The boys are always packing some heat." Thank you so much, sir. Air Vega, hey everyone, vamos Orlando. To all 60 people live, thank you for your support. Please retweet if you're on X, retweet the video. If you're on YouTube, make sure you comment and subscribe. So let's discuss Atuesta. For you, John, was he the ace in the hole in this whole entire game?
I think so. I mean, we discussed before, if you don't have um Ojeda in there, you kind of have to have Atuesta, right? We need one of them to be the guy who's the playmaker, the one pulling the strings. We've seen before when Oscar goes to this four. I don't know if it's a really 4-4-2. It's really Muriel sitting a bit deeper, playing the 10 almost with Duncan ahead of him. And when we do see that, when we saw it earlier in the season and we had those nils, there was no Atuesta there. And I think just in that one, like this game would have been a 0-0 if it wasn't for that one moment where Atuesta, fed the ball when the Portland defense made that one mistake. The center back step out of position. Duncan's got great ball reading. Great reads the game so well. He steps into that space. Atuesta pulls his head up and plays the pass. There's arguments to say in those other games he would have maybe got us a goal like that instead of them ending 0-0, and this one could have ended 0-0. I just think you need someone who's going to be that playmaker, and then this time it was Atuesta. So when we do drop Ojeda, and just probably again for how many games he's been playing, and Oscar seems to think he's the one that needs to be rested, um, it's important that Atuesta is there, or Gervais is there perhaps, or somebody that is going to be the one pulling the strings, making the passes. Because especially when like teams like Portland come and they sit in and they go really deep, I just think we need someone there to be able to make that quality of a pass and be able to move the ball around left to right. So Atuesta, yeah, great to have him back. I liked what he said at the end of the game. I know that they were talking about the fact that he's been training this whole time. So he didn't look like out of fitness. Sometimes when the guys come back, well, most of the time, it's that they are healthy, like physically they can play, but their match fitness, right? Their conditioning is not at the level. And I think for Matuesta, his conditioning and match fitness was very good. And I think that he looked like he would maintaining a high level of fitness, even if he wasn't actually able to play games because of, neck and competitive play being an issue with that, right? Like we've seen that with other players before where like Duncan with a face mask or whatever. Like they can't play, but they're keeping up their levels of fitness. He did a lot of that running around, and I think that we looked tired in the second half, and Atuesta was one of the players out there who didn't look tired, and I think that was a big advantage for us. So hopefully he's ready to turn it around twice more this week, Luis, because we're going to need him to step up and take some minutes off some of these other guys that have played so much.
Yeah, for sure. Jordan Gervais I mean, he is and was great in those run games when Atuesta was with neck, But I feel just like you do, John. I mean, I think once Atuesta's full form, I think and we've seen it. This Gervais is a phenomenal player. A lot of grit. He wants to win. A lot of personality, but he could get hurt. He could get hurt. He could have a muscle. He could pull a muscle. He could in a duel, against another player. It's good for him to be fit. A twist to be fit. So somebody could give it a rest. Um, Definitely, he led the team according to my stats here. 40. He led the team in completed passes, 47. Also, he had the most passes in the first half. Um, Also, he assisted the goal of Duncan McGuire, who He celebrated with Alex Freeman doing the gritty, and it was a phenomenal pass. It just says how important, how vital he's become, his experience in the MLS, what he has accomplished with LAFC at some point. It was a tremendous. It's tremendous to have him in the team. I feel so, and he's just so calm. Now I do want to accentuate and definitely say to everybody that's watching and listening, his work ethic as well. So he was not collectively training with the team, but he was Oscar and his staff make him be part of the training process by also, being near the pitch, maybe touching the ball here and there, kind of showing him tactically, Oscar, what he was going to do. So he was familiar with the plays and the sequences that Oscar wanted him to be part of when he was fully fit. And also he said he watched a lot of film on a lot of the opponents. So he was really, I mean, he was still working, maybe not at the rate as his teammates, but definitely he was there. Now, I do want to say, because I heard it a lot of talks about a lot of fans, and I repeat, if you're watching this and if you're listening to this, you know, the club reserves the right not to tell you exactly what the player has. I don't think no club in the MLS we fully say what a player does have when it comes to an injury. They will rather put a press release first if it's something very serious. But they deserve the right to not to communicate that to anybody. So don't get upset, because it's a practice throughout the league. It's not just Orlando City. It's a practice throughout the league. So get mad at Don Garber or whatever, but it is what it is. So I love the fact that he's back. I love the fact that he was looking for a goal. He had some chances from distance. But I do want to talk. I want to ask you, John, and then we're gonna put. We're gonna read some comments as well. Um, Luis Muriel, man. I mean, Luis Muriel. This was a game. I mean, he's been scoring in the last few games as well, doing assists, being very influential. In this particular game, he was so close, like several times. I don't know if you felt the same way. He had a couple of. He was active. I think he was in the game almost 70 minutes. Luis Muriel, but he put a lot of effort, but he just couldn't put it behind the net, man.
Yeah, I think it was that first half, the same
Yeah.
thing, right? I think we saw that from all the players. They're like Pasalic, Angulo, all the attacking players really were making a lot of aggressive runs in that first half, really trying to upset Portland, trying to get in behind. Muriel had a few good chances. He didn't actually get a shot on target. Sad to say, he just was one of those nights where he was just wasn't able to hit the target, even though
Like
that he was
brick after brick.
he was creating stuff, and then he was just laying an egg. So it's sad, but he's gonna have games like that. Like he is a very good striker, but right, everybody has an off day. I think the important thing for me is with Luis Muriel is he's putting in that effort. You see him running, you see him trying, you see him like actually wanting to, be a part of the team and make that effort. And then also that the fact that he's playing this many games, I think with his fitness last year, we would have questions right now. Like I would be like, oh, we're gonna play Muriel again and again. And like he can't really play 90 at the same level all the time. I think he's good for, like we said before, for about 60 minutes of like high intensity from what he can bring you. And then it really kind of drops off after that. So Oscar is aware of that and takes him out. Like this last game he came out for Ojeda in the 66th. But overall, man, I think just a much improvement from last year on Muriel, and he seems to be a guy that we can rely on. I'm not going to say to like score consistently, but to like be a part of the attack. Like he's always going to be being creative, right? I think that's important, and especially in this role, he is really dropping deep and trying to find Duncan. I know what Duncan said in the post match about Muriel. Like I like playing with him because whenever he gets the ball, he just says, "Make the run, I'll find you," and that's the kind of thing that I like that he's bringing in other players, trying to make them better and make himself better. So I think Muriel is finally he's getting it, man. You know, and I'm happy to see that.
Now, let's talk a little bit about. Let's read some comments. I got James Regis says, "Any word on Duncan's shoulder when he got crunched between two defenders? Just precaution, staying down and holding his arm out for his first real big hit to it this season." Yeah, I mean, I saw him post game, and he was fine. He wasn't. I'll be honest with you, and I know I don't want to also dismiss somebody getting hurt, but sometimes it's the dark arts. Sometimes it's just a little exaggeration here and there. It just happens in the game. Um, you get a little breather, a little rest. You know.
I think with this one though,
With
it did
this
look
one,
really bad. Yeah,
yeah, with this one, yeah,
and
with
he
this
was
one, it looks
worried in the
serious,
start.
but he was fine. I mean, he
Yeah, he
was.
was overall, but I think like you said, just that first big impact on the
Yeah,
shoulder, and I think he thought like, oh God, does it come out
yeah,
again? Because after the surgery and everything,
yeah,
that would be
yeah.
an absolute nightmare. So that was everybody's initial thought, and probably just that shock of being like, oh, okay, that was the first big hit on a.
Mm,
I mean, I had knee surgery earlier in the year, and if you were like, yo, jump up in the air, like right now, like I could do it, but when I landed back down, I'd probably be like, ow, that kind of hurt, right? So
yeah.
you're so aware of these things, and I think with that one, it was just
Anthony also was playing
he got
very,
squashed though.
very aggressively since he was subbed in. He was just he was just tackling and being very aggressive. I didn't see that coming. I thought he was going to be more the person trying to look for a foul more than anything. But in this particular game, I do want to say I noticed something in regards to some of the stats. This was one of the most. This one, according to FOTMob, and I have it right here. Um, he had it. The Lions were, according to here, 7 out of 24. It was one of the second worst performances of the season when it comes to dispossessions. Dispossessions. So 70% of their attempts were dispossessed when it came to facing Portland. And obviously, thankfully, obviously, those dispossessions, those turnovers, did not turn into anything, because Portland also had very good people that could drive the ball and dribble the ball forward. Orlando did also the same. They had Angulo, they had Pasalic, they had Muriel, right? They have Duncan as well. That they could cause a really massive counter, but they didn't capitalize. And I think when you mentioned the weather, that did had an effect on them. Even in the warm ups, they were changing their jersey, the warm up jersey, because they were sweating too much. So that humidity really hit them. But again, they did have the quality to punish Orlando. So I don't know. What do you think about that? I mean, a lot of people say that it was maybe just them being a little tired. But there was a lot of disparity. Like, for example, some of the people that Fatma mentions was Pasalic, Freeman, Ivan Angulo, as you know already, he already had turnovers. He already had dispossessions in every single game since the beginning of the season. But in this particular game, it just went to a different level. I don't know. What do you think about that, John?
Yeah, I think like I said before, it was that second half. It was tired. I mean, Portland were doing it too, but yeah, there were some bad ones. I think when we're packed in like that, and you're getting, you're deep with your defensive lines. You're trying to break out, and you're trying to have those moments and find the out ball, like they would say. Like you're trying to find the way to build a piece of play and get up the pitch. Um, and we just weren't able to do that, especially that first like 20 minutes of the second half. it was just all Portland, and we were shooting ourselves in the foot because we try to play out and we just play it to nobody, or play it back to Portland, or play a long ball that is headed down or caught by their keeper or whatever. And it was a lot of that going on, and I think it was just mentally tiredness as well. Like, I think that's the other thing you don't forget with all these games. We're talking physically, but there's a mental exhaustion here for these players where it's just like you just start to make errors because you're not thinking as quickly, you're not as sharp as you were. You're like, oh, I'll make that pass, but it's a half second too late, or you don't make the tackle. That starts to play into it. And I think we just saw that a lot in the second half. We got penned in and we're really struggling to get out and get that out ball to help us get some pressure, relieve some pressure. Pedro did really well to keep us. The back line still did really well, but yeah, we were under the cosh, as I would say, for a little bit there. And I genuinely feel like it was a lot of tiredness. Angulo, yeah, he did make some bad giveaways. I think in this one too, it's just like
I heard the people too. I heard the
I'm just
people coming out of the
yeah.
stadium. Some people, I was walking, and after the press conference, saw some people there, and then I overheard a conversation saying, "Yeah, Ramirez should start there." And hey, I'm on that boat too, man. You're muted, John.
Sorry, it's really apparent in this game how it's apparent every game. That's the thing. Like, and I tweeted, not to single these two guys out, but it's so obvious to me right now that these are the two that are not performing, and that's Angula and Rafa Santos, and they both of those guys we know can be better than they are showing in this season. Like 2024, Rafa Santos and Angulo were much much better. 2025, those guys is, they're at their floor. We need them to perform at their ceiling. Santos just lost his spot straight up because he was giving away so many defensive errors. Brecalo has solved that problem. Angulo is still out there. Oscar rotated him. He put in Dagger Dam, but it's just apparent to me that he's not performing well at all, and it's apparent to everybody. And that the one where he got up the field and then he didn't make the pass, and it was like the easiest pass, and he went for the shot and the shot went wide. So it's just like, okay, you took it on, but you could have played a square ball to Duncan that was like the easiest goal ever, and you went for the shot, didn't hit the shot. It's too much of those moments from Angulo, like all the time. The offside, why are you offside? You know what I mean, Luis? Like, it's just that should have been a second goal. That should have been 2-0. And the guy just, I think, often doesn't use, he doesn't make good decisions. That's part of it. He doesn't make good decisions, and he doesn't pull off what he tries to do. And that's like Angulo all the time. So he gets up the field, just pass the ball. At this point, everybody is asking him just to pass the ball. And that, not in a bad way, but I don't want to see Angulo shoot because he's not going to score right now. Like,
Yeah, like if you're like he will cut in like
yeah,
Facu.
and I know when he cut in, and it's like you're not going to put it top corner
Yeah,
because
I'm
that's what
like,
you have to do. You're going to put it straight at the keeper, or you're going to miss. And that this season, that's all it's been from him. It's sad to say, but it's the
we
truth.
are we are in the post presser, and they're like, "Hey, he's cutting in, Vinny Jr. No, it's not Vinny Jr. It is Ivan Angulo. He's cutting in. He's getting closer. He shoots. Uh,
I think that's the thing. It's like it's so much elation of like Angulo. He's so fast. He's on the ball. And then he's giving it
yeah,
away,
and
or
then he passes it back.
he
Yeah,
right, or like, and that's a lot of it is like I do see him in the more recent games trying to do more
yeah.
things, but it's still not working. So it's like you're not shooting well. You just get up there and make a pass, and often that's what we see. But yeah, like we've talked about before, maybe it really is the time to. The defensive work is there, but if you're telling me Enrique can't run back and defend as well, I don't believe that. I think he would.
Pedro del Valle says, "Do you think Orlando City, I'm assuming that's they, will make some purchase in the summer window? Orlando City has a spot only for an under 22. Orlando City has a spot for an
I
under 22
I don't think we're gonna make any.
player. Yeah.
No, I think the
And
academy is our pipeline right now.
yeah, so first and foremost, Orlando has a spot for an under 22 player, and the transfer window starts July the 24th. Don Garber made a decision, which I think and I'm going to say this, I think it's a really bad call. The teams that are playing the Club World Cup, which no one's going to go watch, I've seen Infantino with I Show Speed. Like I've seen Infantino. Might as well just see him in the. I just might as well see Infantino doing stunts with the Mickey Mouse Club as well. Maybe
Yo, FIFA
uh,
just sell their soul for
I'm
this
telling
one.
you, they started with tickets at $200 a piece. Now
Yeah,
they're gonna be
it's
selling
crazy.
tickets. They're gonna be selling tickets for $30, not
They're
even
gonna if
20.
they want to put people in stands, yeah.
And not only that,
Like, no offense, but who wants to go watch Auckland? Like,
n- who wants to see Mamadolu Sundowns or whatever? With all due respect, who wants to
yeah.
see Ulsan Hyundai? I
But
mean,
also, it's you gotta if you want to sell the seats in the gods, like if you want to sell the seats at the top of the Citrus Bowl, you can't sell those for $200. No one's paying $200 to sit that far
no,
away. That's
I do
crazy.
I do want to say they made this move because obviously the money it's in the US, and that's 110%. It's all a money move,
Yeah, it's all money.
okay? But you have to understand people work, man. And even if you are the most diehard, let's say Flamengo fan or Manchester City fan, you're gonna put those teams to play on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, that's the other thing
Like
too.
no one's gonna, you know what I mean? Like no one's
Yeah.
gonna see it. Now if you would have put the Club World Cup that you want to do with all these teams, you would have put it in an Argentina, in a Brazil, in a maybe a Spain, then I would understand that, boom, it would have like clicked right away. But they picked the US and they picked a really weird schedule in which the league's still playing or something like that. Like it's a weird schedule. And now with this law about this new rule about Sounders, Inter being able to sign players June 1st, I think it's unfair. I think it's just unfair. LAFC too, if they beat America for the $10 million
I mean, it's
match.
it's it's MLS being MLS, right? They're like, why are we gonna, we don't want to be embarrassed. Let's allow our teams, but we don't want to allow all the teams because it's like Canada can't do it. So we're only going to allow the teams that are in the Club World Cup because we want them to be able to boost their rosters because we don't want to be embarrassed. I mean, yeah,
Bro, it's the
I think
worst
the whole
mistake.
thing, yeah.
The worst mistake they made is give Inter a bid just because of Messi, man.
Well, I mean, are we, as anybody shocked at this point
No,
that
no, we're not
MLS just
shocked.
wants to do what they want to do? Like, it's depressing. I think it's
I feel
frustrating
Columbus would have done a better job. I think Philadelphia would have done a better job.
for sure. I mean, my thing is the whole point of MLS is it's supposed to be parity. Like, so why try and sell us parity if
Exactly.
you then just change the rules all the time
Exactly.
for whatever suits you, right? New York don't have to have a stadium. Miami can have Messi on a deal that no one else has. All of these things, like they're constantly bending and changing the rules to what suits them and what suits their entertainment. It's just the same as FIFA, honestly. I mean, I think that's what we forget. Like, as much as we want it all to be fair and about the competitiveness of the game and having an even playing field, it's entertainment, and they just want to promote the teams that they think will sell the most tickets and get the most butts in seats and make them the most money. And that's what the Club World Cup. The only reason there's a massive, Luis, payout for this tournament is to get the teams that are in it to care, because they wouldn't care if there wasn't this much money. They really, and they would play their B teams, and FIFA knows that, and that's why they put the money in.
Well, we're gonna read some more comments, and before we go and do that, I do want to say Orlando City 12th straight MLS game without a loss. Take that. Hashtag Papien, and third straight win in MLS play. So, you
Luis, it's
know,
only $75 to sit at the top row of the Citrus of the Camping World Stadium to
it's
watch Juve versus Man City. The
I'm not
very top for
look.
$75.
No, I'm a little pissed off, and I was gonna say I'm a little pissed off because I was thinking of doing and covering this event, but I gave up. It's, FIFA never answered me, and I already planned a vacation with my family, so I'm just like, F it. Plus, it's on a weekday. Some of these games, like, it's just it doesn't like.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Like, there's no one gonna go. No one's gonna go to this unless it. The whole
Yeah.
point of the tournament is you see it from start to finish,
Like I think
right?
I think there's if you are like a fan of a team that is coming here and you have never seen, like if you are a whatever fan and they're coming to town and you want to totally, I would pay my money to go see my team that I've never seen,
Right.
right? But I don't I think there's a lot of people that are just casual soccer fans, especially in Orlando, that are going, how much for two teams I don't care about? I don't think I'm gonna do that. So
All right. Before we go into the next topic, I do want to give a shout out to something that occurred while I was covering the Portland game. And if you guys allow me 2 minutes to do this, I will kindly appreciate it. I want to give a shout out. We're talking about the league, the MLS. The last 3 seasons for Loud and Proud Orlando, we've been partnering with Amerikanska Pilka right here. Amerin, Amerikanska Pilka. I think I said it in Polish.
beautiful.
This is a outlet, one of the most important outlets that covers the MLS in Poland. And so every beginning of the season and every end of the season, they send me a little WhatsApp, or they send me a little, well, now they have my WhatsApp, but they send me a little Twitteroo, you know, and I say, "Hey, Lewis, we would like your thoughts on how Orlando ended the season. Or we would like your thoughts on how Orlando is starting the season." And they create. Look, there's a lot of fans in Poland that follow the MLS. Yes, and they do this guide. This is a printed guide with
Wow.
stats, with signings, with insider information. Like, this is a lot of work, guys. A
That
lot
that
of work.
yeah.
You
I
know,
don't know any American outlets that do
I don't
that.
see any American outlets doing this. Look at that right there. And we've been partnering with these guys for the last 3 seasons, giving them Orlando info. And obviously, I'm going to show right here everything about Orlando City, tactics, how they're looking, you know, form, what they won, and here's us right there. If you guys can see, sorry to right there, we're right there. There you go. So I want to give a shout out to my friends from Amerikanska Pilka right here. When I go to the press box, business as usual. I say hello to everybody, and take some pictures, some video, and things like that, before the game. Say hello to everybody, and then I'm posting stuff on X, and I'm doing my report and all of that. And then all of a sudden, in the halftime, some a lovely lady and a gentleman come up to me, and they're like, "Hey, are you Luis Pineda?" And I'm like, no one usually notices me. It's okay. I said, "Hey, yeah, hi, nice to meet you. Who are you?" Is like, "Oh, my name is," and I'm gonna hopefully I'm not butchering his name because that'll be bad. Uh, I have here his name. Hold on, let me see if I can pronounce it right. Jetsdrag. Yeah, Jetsdrag. I'm Jetsdrag from Amerikanska Pilka, and then when he said the name and he showed me the scarf, I'm like, oh, I exactly knew who they were. I was like, oh, fantastic. And so I was like, oh my God, it's so great to put a face, to the people we've been communicating for the past 3 seasons. This is fantastic. And they provided me this wonderful guide. It is in Polish, which is fantastic because I love collecting things. It's in Polish. And obviously, they have one in English too, which I will be sent to that later on. But they do an amazing job. It was a pleasure to meet him, also to their photographer, the people that's in charge of their social media was there. I am very happy, and I do want to say this: I am happy, and Orlando City made such a great impression on them. They left the stadium completely in love of Orlando City. The way they were treated from getting into the stadium, and I do want to give kudos to communications here. I want to give kudos to even security. They came in, the fans, like they don't get fireworks too much over there apparently. They saw the fireworks, they saw the night when when you say the Pledge of Allegiance or the national anthem, they say night. They were suppressed about that. They took they were there, and it was a dream come true for them to be, been talking about the league for 3 years to go into an actual game accredited as a source. So great job by the club to pushing through these outlets that truly speak highly of the league. That's number one, because that's the only way the league is going to grow organically. So kudos to the club, and not so much kudos to another club in Florida, right? Another club in Florida that there's some dogs fighting outside my house. Uh, not so good as, I do want to say, if people from Inter are watching this, guys, respond emails. They do a phenomenal job covering the team, and they want to go to different stadiums. They want to get that atmosphere of soccer in the States. Don't leave them hanging, guys. It just takes 2 seconds to respond an email, and it speaks a lot on what your club, behaves and moves around. So, but it was a pleasure meeting Jets Reg and everybody there from Amerikanska Pilka. They give me little pins as well, which I'm going to give one to John when I see him next. Phenomenal. Great job. We're going to be collaborating with them. We're probably going to have them in the show once they're back in Poland, because they're still in the United States. I do want to say they're still in the United States. They want to go to I think they're going to the Inter game coming up, and 2 Inter games coming up. So um, once they're back from Poland, maybe we'll do a special recorded episode with them, just to tell us their adventures and what games they covered, and what did they like the most about the Orlando City experience. So we'll do that, and I just want to give them a shout out before we go into the next portion of the show. So thank you guys for everything. Sorry, John. I know it took a little long, but
No, that's also I didn't know about that. That's really cool.
yeah,
So
man, we're
I
famous in
love
Poland.
the
We're
yeah. I mean,
famous in Poland.
there's like there's the MLS Brazil, there's
Yeah.
MLS France, there's like I'm sure you guys have seen on Twitter and other places some of these outlets, but they're outlets all over the world that just specifically cover MLS. We know Orlando City, UK. We know a bunch of that. So I didn't know about the Poland one though. That's awesome. So
I mean,
great
look,
to hear.
Orlando City is gonna be famous in Poland.
Love it.
That's I love it. I love it. We gotta get
Should
the
we?
next Lewandowski. We gotta get the next.
Right. Uh, Speaking of the next, Luis, let's talk about Alex Freeman for a second.
Yeah.
I know there's been some rumors bounding around on X, nothing confirmed yet about, you know, him potentially leaving to a club in Europe. I don't think there's really any, meat to this yet. I think it's just this is going to happen all summer, Luis, right? Just get ready because just like Duncan that one summer where everybody was talking about him, and I think that was the winter actually, but same thing. Like this is the summer transfer window. He is a hot young right back. championship teams, Italian teams, French teams, German teams, they're all gonna, be interested. But I think it's too soon. I'm hoping that Alex and his people also feel that way. I feel like he's a pretty smart kid. Um, Not every offer from Europe is an offer you want to take. And I think that's some of the issue here is that people tend to think, oh, Europe's coming. Why wouldn't you go? Whoever it is, wherever it is. It's about the right offer, but it's also about the right time. And I think it's too soon. This I think it was who was the team in Syria that they were, I don't know.
Yeah. So
It
according
wasn't
to
anybody important. So, not a team.
yeah, it was Parma.
Yeah. So Parma, right? Like they're a Serie A team. Yes, he could go. Maybe he would start for Parma. Is that somewhere you want to go? I don't know. I think it's up for debate for him, but I still think if Parma comes this summer, next summer AC Milan could come, right? That's the thing. I think wait now, better offers will come. And this summer is going to be a bunch of that like championship teams, right? Like it's going to be that sort of level of clubs that come in for him, not your top European clubs. But I think if he waits, he's going to potentially get offers from top European clubs.
I've asked, and I do want to say we'll have news regarding this some point after the holiday. So more likely by the next episode. Hopefully, I've asked club sources if they can acknowledge if this is meat in the bone, if this is cooking on your pressure cooker, on your air fryer, or this is all smoke. Now, I do want to say, I agree with John 110%. I mean, it's number one, it's great, just like Air Vegas says. I'm glad Freeman is getting all this recognition, but I hope he stays in Orlando. So it's great that we see a homegrown number one getting a lot of buzz, but you have to understand from who to it matters. And unfortunately, when you go to X, there are some outlets that are they're bots. Unfortunately, they have like you know
I mean, I feel like every social media's got
yeah,
some
like
some
like it like it's
fakies in the
yeah, like it's
comments.
like it's like it's bots, like it's they have 30 friends, 30 followers, or they have less than so for us, when it comes to us, at least, like yeah, we may not be the most famous, but every we can tell that every single person in there is organically done. Now that's number one. From who's it coming from? Number two is what teams. And you have to understand the premise. The premise is Orlando City is in the middle of their in the middle of their season. Number one, Freeman is a starter. Freeman is under contract. Okay. And obviously, like John was saying, buzz it's gonna be out because England already has a champion. Napoli is champion of Italy. Spain, FC Barcelona is champion of Spain. So right now they are starting their transfer shenanigans right now. Now, with all due respect, with Parma, which I grew up watching a Parma team that had the likes of Veron, Batistuta, Hernan Crespo, really great Argentinian players. They made a huge buzz. I think they won a couple of cups here and there. That's not the same Parma we see now. The Parma that we see now, I do want to say, it's like a Venezia. It's like where Busio went to play. So it's a very and like it's the 16th slot and the 16 in the standings last season. Well, this last season just ended. Why would you go there when you're right now in the MLS starting? It just use your common sense when it comes to these rumors. Like, why would you leave Orlando City to go to Italy, where you don't speak the language? Number one. Number two, you're going to be going to a team that it's not a Milan, not a Napoli, not an Inter Milan. It's gonna not a Roma, right? And they don't have the logistics those big clubs do. They might not be able to put a translator for you and all of that. And you're gonna go to a smaller club that is on coming up, but they may bench you if you have a bad game. You know, so
Sure.
and plus 2 million right now. Like I don't think I look
This is a low ball, like
slow ball.
if it is right. Once again, this is coming from Mike McGrath, who works for the Telegraph in England.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this about English newspaper writers: don't trust what they write because they'll just write like, and like people send me stuff from the Sun all the time. No, just don't believe anything that's written in that paper. The Telegraph's a little bit more reputable, but I find it strange that an English press guy has got information about Parma before any like. I mean, I don't speak Italian, but
La
I haven't
Gazzetta
seen
dello
it.
Sporci.
I haven't seen any tweets from Italian outlets on MLS on this. No Parma, like, so where's that coming from? Also, I just think even if it is true, 2 million is just such a low ball offer, like a starting, like, oh, maybe Orlando City don't realize what they have and they'll be stupid and give us him for 2 million. Triple that, man.
Pretty
Triple
much
that,
this
and
is,
then we'll talk. Like a starting price for me is 6 million right now. Honestly, I think even anything less than 6 million, the club should just be like, go away.
yeah.
We're not even going to talk to you.
Like
Just like,
yeah, don't get me wrong. I agree with you 110%. Plus, it's like dumb Americans. You know what I mean? Like, let's give him 2 million. And it's not
yeah,
right. Now, when it comes to the second part of this, English clubs in championship heading to Premier League having interest in the 20-year-old. Now, we've been through this, and I cover Peru. So there's a Peruvian player in Sheffield United. His name is Cáceres. I'm sure if you're from England and you're watching this, and I want to also give another shout out to a colleague of mine that may be watching the show today, Robert Santona. He covers Bournemouth, Bournemouth, right? Bournemouth. Sorry. So, um, Cáceres played first division, Copa Libertadores, Copa Sudamericana, first division Peru. Same age as Alex Freeman. Went to the UK, benched, went to the under 23s. So it's going to be the same with Freeman more than likely. And why would you, if you're a starter in the MLS and you are under contract, unless they guarantee this guy is going to be a starter, I really don't see I don't see the high dividends that it could pay. I mean, again, Freeman is a phenomenal player, and any path he decides to do, I think he's going to succeed. But I don't think this is really something like it's, you know, I mean, it's one thing to be interested. Another thing is to put the money where the mouth is, right? So I really
yeah,
don't see this feasible. I'm trying to be nice.
yeah. No, and I think, if one of these upgraded clubs, like if you're talking Leeds, Burnley, or Sunderland, right? That is one of these clubs. He's made it quite obvious there with
No,
who's interested. If one of them comes in and they say, Alex, we want you to come in and we feel like you can compete for a starting place, and we're going to give Orlando City like 6-7 million. And sure, maybe then this summer that would be enough. But I think what Brandon Philbrick says here in this comment, I think he's what we're all concerned about. He says, I feel if Freeman leaves at this point in his career, I see him becoming the next Chris Mueller that left the league too early and
there you
just
go.
comes back to MLS. That's our example, but the league is full of them, full of guys that try to go over to Europe. They're 20 something and they looked really good and then it didn't work out. Right. And I think, like we said before, Alex has got more time where he can develop right now in this team, keep his role,
Be the
keep
face of the team.
keep getting better, and then this time next year, I think would be a very good time for him to make that move and probably to a better team. Like at that point, he might be straight into the Premier League, right?
Yeah, it's in the Premier
So
League.
not just a championship team that got promoted and maybe there's a fear also with these teams is they just buy a lot of players when that happens, right? Look at what Nottingham Forest did. They just threw money at it the first year, and then they got rid of half those guys and threw money at it the second year. Eventually, it worked out for them, but there's so many players that just got, brought in, sold the promise of you're going to be a Premier League player, and then are cast aside the next year when they can't hack it, right? So you have to be careful, in my opinion, about going to those clubs because they will promise you the world, but they often will just sign three other guys like you and then find which one works in their system. So, Alex, I think this is flattering. It's going to be flattering. This is just the beginning of the summer. He's the hot commodity right now, but I think it's too soon, and I don't think that this offer is anywhere near what we should accept.
I agree 110% with John says in that scenario, and I want to add. I also agree with what Brandon says. Look, another example about I'm talking about the behavior of some of the championship clubs. This is not, again, Burnley, right? Burnley, they sign a top 4 Danish right back called Oliver Son. Oliver
Yep.
Son was a top 4 Danish. He was in Team of the Week in the Danish Super League almost every week. Top 4. Peruvian national, all right, but Danish born, but Peruvian national. Okay, he goes. Oh, Son is gonna go to the championship. Okay, from Danish to championship, great jump, phenomenal. What happens? They bench him. Same thing, bench him. There were rumors of Burnley losing their star right back, which I guess all Premier Leagues like, and they were going to lose him. In the end, he stayed till the end of the season, and Son was relegated to the under 23s, and he played only 4 games for Burnley. Four games for Burnley. So what I'm trying to say is this happens. This is a repeated offense, in my opinion. So, like John says, take it easy. Everybody knows what Alex Freeman can do. I think he's a phenomenal human being, phenomenal player. He's well guided, very level headed young man. He's going to make it really far. But I do feel like a Parma, and with all due respect to Parma, a club like, Blackburn, or like, it unless he's guaranteed starting role more than 2 million, we could think about it. But I do feel he's poised to kill it with Orlando City. Why not going for the Shield? What happens if in this Gold Cup he becomes a top scorer for the national team? That right there, multiply those zeros on that paycheck.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be a little cautious, and also don't believe the hype of all these like little rinky-dink outlets. Like if it's not coming from a reliable source, like, and you guys know who the reliable sources are, I'm not even going to say, like, don't believe the hype. There's some in Turkey, some in like
Yeah, and
Albania.
he's going to be linked with a bunch of clubs all summer,
Yeah.
like we said. I would also say that if the right offer does come in and he wants to go,
Yeah.
then the club will let
The
him
club will
go.
let
And
him go. Yeah.
I know people will be upset about that. Sol CHGO here saying if they sell him before the season's over, I'm going to crash out. We'll all be sad, but as long as we feel like we've got a good deal and we're wishing Alex the best on his way, he is going to be a representative for us, and I think that it's important that those players are allowed to go do that, but it has to be for the right deal. And I don't think it's going to happen this summer
Yeah.
anyway. So,
And I wish him, I wish Freeman also the best in the Gold Cup. Hopefully
yeah, this is going
he
to be
becomes,
awesome.
yeah.
I'm excited for him. Talking of international call ups, what a great segue, Luis.
Yeah.
Guess who has been called up once again? Actually, I'll show this one first.
Dobro.
Marco Pasalic. My left foot is my weapon. is back in the Croatian national team. I love. I
Phenomenal.
don't. I don't know if you've seen Luis, but the Croatian national team on X constantly like posting stuff of him scoring
Yeah.
goals and like he hasn't been in the Croatian national team since 2020. I think it was 2020. Was it 2024? No, it was 2023, I believe. Oh no, here he is. Yeah. So he did get called up in 2024, but he never
He was
played.
on the
He was
bench.
on the bench or not in squad. And then in 2025, they already played the Nations League finals. He did not get called up in those two games against France. So I think he's one of these guys that is on the cusp of the national team for Croatia. He's only actually got 5 caps for them. So he's only performed 5 times for the Croatian national team. I believe, Luis, a lot of the reason that he came to play for Orlando City was exactly because this right here.
Hmm.
He wanted to go somewhere where he would know he was going to get consistent playing time at a good high level, where he could get noticed again and get back, in the national team roster. Whether he's just going to go back on the bench again, I don't know. I don't know enough about the Croatian national team right now to tell you. I know they're always got a lot of good wingers, so I'm sure he's having to compete, but this is great because he probably wanted this. Like this was probably an aim for him when he came back, when he came to Orlando City. Just part of it was to get back in the national team. He's achieved that. This is wonderful. This is what we want, Luis.
For sure. First and foremost, Chesitam, Marco. As you said in Croatia, congratulations, Marco.
That's very
Uh,
good creation there, Luis.
yeah, Chesitam. Yeah. Um, you know, it's amazing to have Orlando City tied in with a national team that not too long ago went to a. I mean, they've gone to World Cup finals. They've gone
Yeah.
to this is a very high regarded national team, and so a soccer nation, and it's great to have him there. And yeah, I agree with John 110% there. He came to without a lot of without a lot of buzz and a lot of like, hey, name recognition. He came kind of with a lot of doubters. And you know who you are if you were a doubter of Marco Pasalic. Crying out that Facu was gone and all of that. You know who you are. Obviously, he shut them all up, and his left foot is his weapon, and he's demonstrated it. And he's a tremendous player, not only offensively but also defensively. I'll say he contributes a little bit more defensively than Facu did, and that's just being really nice. And again, phenomenal acquisition, and hopefully he continues to grow. And he has a couple of goals with the Croatian national team, and that momentum from Croatia brings it into Orlando, ready to go for what's coming next for the Lions in the MLS. And I'm 100% sure, and I do want to say all those guys, um, by club source, they are motivated. They don't want to stop when it comes to they know that they went to the promised land last year and kind of didn't pan out the way they wanted to. They want to go all out. They want to go all in. They want to go all in. They want to the supporter shield. They want to do something special for the City Beautiful. So they look motivated. Hopefully Marco is part of that, and I wish him the best. I think it's a great, 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 phenomenal news.
Awesome news from Marco. Very exciting for him to get back in the national team. He's going to be playing 2 of the World Cup
Oh,
qualifying games. So let's
Croatia's
see.
in.
Yeah, let's see if he can. He's the likes of Perisic and Modric and all these old classic Croatians who've been killing it for the last 10 years are still on the roster. So he gets to play with them. He knows. I'm sure he knows a lot about those guys and has played with them before. There's also another Pasalic on the squad, Mario Pasalic.
This is his brother, I think.
Is not
Is
his
it his
brother.
brother?
No, they're not related at
His
all.
cousin?
So, no, there's just 2 Pasaliches, not
Nice.
related.
A big
But
family.
congrats to Marco. This is awesome, and I would love to see him. Like Croatia are ranked 11th in the world.
Yeah.
They don't, in my opinion, right now they're they got a lot of forwards, but they don't have a lot of like out and out wingers. You know, they got a lot of technical center of the park guys, not a lot of out and out wingers. So let's see. Maybe this is a chance for him to really break into the team now that he's in form with us.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very excited now. When it comes to, I know we now have the call ups of Pedro Gales as well.
Yep.
His call up is literally if Peru loses against Colombia and Ecuador, it's done. Even if it's a draw and a win, they need to get 6 points. If they don't get 6 points out of Colombia, if they get 6 points out of Colombia and Ecuador, they're done. So we'll see what El Pulpo can do. And Atlanta United too.
Yeah, quick OCB update. If you didn't see last night, it was a delayed game. Atlanta United 2, OCB 2, 3-0 they lost. Not much to say on this one, Luis. I think honestly it was a poor performance.
Yeah,
Let's not dwell. So
yeah.
we're tight for time today. We're gonna move straight on, but I want to let everybody know that OCB
Unfortunately,
fell to Atlanta last night as we preview Luis our Atlanta game.
yeah. I mean, we'll do some comments before we go to that real quick. Says JC Beast is sad how they iced Sown. I would hate to see Freeman get that treatment. I agree with you. You know, you imagine you have. I mean, Sohn was doing so good in Denmark, tremendous in Denmark. Like I said, top four right back, and Freeman is almost right there too. And you know, them get iced. It doesn't make any sense. If they sell him before the season's over, I'm gonna crash out. I don't know. It depends on the player and it depends on the club, but I really highly doubt. Just like John said. Air Vega, this is a huge win for Pasalic and Croatia. I'm excited to see him play with them again. There you go. Thank you, Air Vega. Yeah, we segue to Atlanta United. Look, this is a derby. We've already killed the Rowdies. We've already killed Miami, and I think this is the time to just do, for the for the three for win all derbies this season. Let's now we have a chance to definitely put a dagger on Atlanta, and in their stadium, and they're not doing so hot. And if I'm an Atlanta fan, I'm probably feeling really disappointed. A lot of the acquisitions they've had, over $40 million spent in acquisitions. On paper, they look phenomenal, but their performance level has dropped tremendously. So on the end, Orlando City, kind of more cost savvy, more finding working guys in not so much name, but a lot of grit and a lot of, you know, different roles in different positions. They're doing so great. They're almost in top four in the league. So night and day. I think Orlando, just to give a little expectation, then give it to John. I think Orlando should definitely put an end on Atlanta. This should be a win. I know, again, it's a derby, and derbies are unpredictable, especially because they are derbies. So even if Atlanta is doing so really bad, we cannot take them any lightly. This is a really tough opponent still, but we have the quality, and I think the players are going to be motivated to get this momentum, keep rolling, and again, imagine you give your fans a win against the Rowdies, a win against Miami, a win against Atlanta. You know, that's what the fans want, and that's what motivates the fans to continue, supporting you. So, let's get it done. John, what are your expectations on this game?
Like you said, we got to go out there and get the win. Atlanta, or yeah, like they're defensively, I feel they're very weak. This was their lineup against Cincinnati. They did manage to get a 5-2 win against Cincinnati on the
Uh-huh.
weekend to break their 8-game winless streak before that. So they finally managed to get a dub. This one, like if you go back and watch it, I don't know what Cincinnati were doing, but it was like wide open, end to end, back and forth on the highlights. Like I don't think Cincinnati played a very compact game. They went 2 goals down and then really tried to chase the game. And Atlanta at home used their attacking prowess, managed to you know, get those goals. But you can still see here, Luis, it wasn't, Latte Lath. It wasn't the $28 million man scoring the goals. He had a chance where he was straight on goal, 1-on-1 with the keeper, went round the keeper and still missed the net. 28 million pulled an Angulo. That's what I saw. It was an Angulo. Amiron, same thing. Not really performing like they thought he was gonna do. Like it's Moranchuk, Lobojanice, like these other guys that we were dealing with last year are, in my opinion, still the real threats for them. Like you got to watch all of these players. Of course, they got a lot of attacking talent, but it's not really performing as much as it should be, especially in the amount that they spent. And on the back line, Luis, I don't believe in this three back. They kind of play with the wing backs. I think that leaves them really exposed. You can tell me, but do you really think Louis Abram is a good center back? Because every time I watch him, dude is failing.
Look, let me tell you something. Luis Abram, and I know Alonso's probably gonna get upset and probably gonna tell Luis about this, but it's okay. I feel Luis Abram, uh, it's a very emotional driven defender. So if his team is hot, he will get hot. If the team is sucking, he's gonna poop the bed with everybody. So, and this has happened in Sporting Cristal. It has happened in a lot of the teams he's played before. So, um, it's it's right now. I think Brecalo, even Kyle Smith, um, they are defenders that I will definitely put my money on. Abram is going to go to the national team. Um, I don't know what to say about Abram in the national team. He's also like that, you know.
Yeah, I just
So
think it's they had these issues last year, I believe, with this back line, and I just see the same issues again. I think Ronnie Dyla is just a very like it's so hot or cold, and it's like I don't I don't think he's got them performing well week in, week out. I think this one against Cincinnati, honestly, watching it back, it was more like I was shocked that Cincinnati were performing that badly than like Atlanta were that good. They got a couple goals off like headers, and I just think Cincinnati in the air were really poor this game. That's something we have to be better about. Like Atlanta do have a lot of height on the corners, on free kicks. We've got to get up there and head the ball away from them before they can get the ball. But outside of that, I think you also have to remember that they use a lot of energy, I believe, playing this. Like it seems to me like they were so desperate to get the win. They put all their energy into getting this win over Cincy, and then we're coming into town. They got to repeat that performance back to back. I don't think this Atlanta team is a team that can win a game back to back right now. They managed to win one. Maybe that will turn things around. But I genuinely think they're going to be looking tired, and we're going to come out there with a much more solid defense than what Cincy had. I was really disappointed in their defense in this game.
yeah. Also, I do want to say, what happened to Nick Hageland at that game. You know, two broken ribs,
Yeah, there's questions
and
over that for sure.
we need to keep an eye on that. And I know none of the players, obviously, I'm not trying to tell you guys if the players are watching. I'm not trying to tell you not to tackle these guys or not to play, strong arm these guys. You guys have to strong arm these guys. You guys gotta, rob these guys the ball. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I think for any player, seeing what happened to Nick Hagland, I mean, it could definitely affect them mentally, two broken ribs. But yeah, this is a team that Orlando needs to, literally put away. Definitely 99% of fans of Atlanta want for Orlando to lose so they can start this comeback tour. But they have a team that it's hot and cold, man. You know, they just beat Cincinnati, right? Um, they just beat Cincinnati, which is a top team in the MLS, and but again, they're hot and cold. They're not consistent. This season, they are not consistent at all. Um, a lot of people are saying, that the win against Cincinnati is their turnaround, is a turning point, and they're turning the tide around. With that back line, just like John said, with Abraham and all those players, I highly doubt that that's going to be a turnaround. What we do have to make sure is that we are in A-OK form. So yeah.
Yes, indeedy. I think we should skip the lineup just to save a little bit of time today, and we're gonna go straight into our predictions. Do you have anything else you want to say on Atlanta? I mean, I feel like we don't even have enough time. Like, the players don't have enough time to mentally prepare themselves. I don't feel like I've mentally prepared myself for the fact that we're going to Atlanta away on a Wednesday. There's just been so many games back to back, and I hope the guys realize that this one is also, really important, and the rivalry that we have and how bad they've been doing. We really want to go there and complete our May with another 6 points this week. If we can start off with 3 on Wednesday, that'll be great.
Yeah, for sure. Again, this is a team that we need to show our fans that, we're serious about this run, and this is, again, a team that is low on the totem pole right now. And unfortunately, I know it sounds cruel, but kick them when they're down, kick them when they're down. And this is a huge chance. Almiron still one of their biggest contributors in offense right now. So, but he has not been able to do anything against Orlando City. Every time they've faced Almiron, I mean, lately he's been, again, on and off. Miranchuk looks like the Miranchuk of last year. So he was the best player against Cincinnati by far. And again, Orlando has Pasalic, Orlando has Atuesta, and I think they just got to score those goals, man. I mean, you imagine if Muriel John would have scored a couple of those in the first half against Portland, that this would have been a 3-0 win.
Yeah, we need to attack with that same intensity in the first 20 minutes in this game too.
Brandon Philbrick says, "Oh yes, I will be at the ATL game on Wednesday. First time going. Any advice? Have you ever been in Mercedes-Benz?"
I have, yeah. I will say this: they have cheap beer, which I'm always jealous. They're like the only stadium in the whole of MLS that I don't know if they subsidize it, but they keep the beer cheap. So respect to them for that. Outside of that, it's a massive. It feels like a football stadium because it is. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a soccer stadium to me. And the thing that sucks that we haven't talked about, Luis, but playing on turf. That's the advantage that Atlanta has here. We're never very good on AstroTurf, and we got to go to their house and play on that horrible field.
Well, yep. So I wanted to ask you, John, real quick, off topic, real quick. I want to show you this picture. I don't know how you feel about this. This is very interesting, and then we'll segue into the end of the show. Do you want to do predictions, or you want to do the starting 11 first?
We can skip the lineup, and we'll just go straight to predictions.
Okay, let's just go to predictions real quick. And then
I think just to say on the lineup, though, at some point we're going to have to rotate more players.
Yeah.
I know we got 2 games this week. I don't know if it's this one or the one on Saturday that you rotate, but it might catch up to us again.
I have a feeling it might be this one because the some of, like, for example, Brecalo, I don't know if has he been called up for Slovenia? I don't think so, right? Okay, so again, but you could feel with Brecalo because he's injury prone. I will, for example, that will be one of my changes there. Maybe putting Kyle Smith. I don't feel confident with Santos just yet. I like Santos coming off the bench, but I think Kyle Smith could start for Brecalo on that back four. Okay, so we'll do predictions. We want to do predictions real quick. There you go. So, man,
What do you think, Luis?
look, man. I think before he goes to Croatia, he's gonna score one. I think we're gonna go to 2-0 Orlando City.
You're going for the 2-0 again.
2-0 again. Yeah.
I like that. We both said 2-0, 3-1. I said last game. I'm gonna stick with my 3-1.
3-1. Okay.
I might update it actually. I'm gonna take 3-0.
3-0.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna take the 3-0.
We'll go to 3-0. Fantastic. So that's our prediction. Leave your predictions right here on the comments. John says 3-0 against Atlanta. I say 2-0. I think another shot out. So yeah, I wanted to show you this before we go.
Yes, please.
FB Ref, which is a reputable.
Oh, I remember these.
Look, what's up with Arsenal in the United States, man? Like
Arsenal, yeah.
Is this real? Like,
there's a lot of Arsenal fans in the US, man. There's a lot of Man City fans. There's a lot of, the teams that did well of like the last, 10 years or so are really more like I'm sure there's lots of Man U fans and lots of Liverpool fans that have been around forever and are now really happy again. It's Premier League, man. And what makes me sad is all these, not all of these, but a lot of these people here that follow their Premier League team religiously won't come watch your Orlando City game. And I think that's a lot of what MLS has got wrong is there's a lot of soccer fans in the US, but there's not a lot of MLS fans in the US.
No, but if you look at some of the, like for example, look at Washington, the Spirit are the most viewed team page.
How do you feel about that if you're DC United?
Right? DC United probably is like, what? Man, Columbus Crew, like in Columbus.
Like
Crew,
Racing Louisville's the biggest one in Kentucky,
yeah,
is that?
Racing
Wow.
Louisville, yeah.
No, that's massive. Good for them.
Look at Atlanta.
Atlanta, people like Atlanta.
Georgia.
Atlanta. Yes. I've seen this before. What is up with all the Crystal Palace fans in what is that, Colorado?
I don't know, man, but
that's wild.
One thing I do want to say, Crystal Palace,
celebrating.
Great social media people, great guys. Like I had a pleasure to meeting them when they came to Tampa. I fell in love with the club too, and I'm glad that they won the FA Cup. So happy for them. They won the FA Cup, right?
Yes, they did. First trophy they've ever won, and they've been around for like
I'm very happy for Crystal Palace.
50 years. Or put that in perspective.
Imagine that.
Us Orlando City fans losing our mind, having not won the MLS Cup yet. Try being a team that's never won a trophy for 150 years or whatever it is. Wild. So yeah, amazing. All the fans, all the scenes from. If you have not seen that, go back and just watch that Go watch the highlights of the fans celebrating in Wembley Stadium after that win, because that's beautiful.
I want to also ask you before we go. With the talks of some of the fans not being so happy with Orlando City product, and they want definitely exciting soccer in Central Florida. And they always say that I want exciting soccer. I want soccer that excites me. I don't want Pappy special. I don't want to play defensive. I want to play offensively, man. What do you think about this? You were a huge part of the USL run for Orlando City. What do you think about Winter Garden / Claremont FC? Go ahead. Boom, shakalaka. United Soccer League, Central Florida Pro Soccer to bring professional soccer to Central Florida, USL League 1. Now, there's an alternative. There's your AEW for your WWE. You, Rogue fan, now you have a chance to go and support Claremont and Winter Garden, West Orlando, baby. What do you think, John?
I think it's awesome, man. I love it. It's great to see another, team here. I have no problem with that. I think there should be teams all over Florida of all different levels and sizes. There's multiple, I know USL clubs popping over all over the state, Sarasota, Jacksonville, you name it. So why not have more in Central Florida? I'm all for this. And it seems like they're going to spend a lot of money out in a place, a town that's already got a lot of money. Hopefully they're going to be a cool, fun grassroots team that I'll definitely be checking out when they finally start playing.
No, this is an ownership group that is from they have a letter of intent, a very secure letter of intent with the city of Winter Garden for a 72-acre in East Winter Garden, which is close to the Winter Garden Village. Their offices are in downtown Winter Garden, which is obviously, if you are part of Central Florida and you live in Winter Garden, the Ropers, obviously, guys, the Ropers own majority of the land in Winter Garden and Claremont. It's a multi-purpose stadium, and stay tuned, because I do want to give kudos to Mike Ramajo, my good friend Mike Ramajo. Mike Ramajo is going to be doing a piece about this team very soon. He's going to try to get in contact with some of the ownership group there to talk about what's going to be happening with this team. But it's USL Division 1, man, and so we'll see what happens. Or the United States and their two division, the two USL and MLS products is insane, man. It just coming from another part of the world. I honestly it should be just one league, but it's okay, But I agree with you. I think it's great. I think it's giving people, especially Winter Garden, Claremont area people, like, there's no professional sports there unless it's like little league. Like it's tremendous. So stay tuned for that. You imagine a Winter Garden FC versus Orlando City? It'd be like Arsenal against Chelsea, man. Or more like a Fulham and Chelsea. Wow, crazy. Anyways, I was gonna say it was the Euro trip effect, but they were Man United fans. LOL, says JC Beast. JC Beast 3-0. Shout out all across the Southeast. Well, anyways, we're going to be closing. I want to thank you, John, for the great episode. Sorry it took a little longer than expected. To everybody that was watching, about 150 people live, stay tuned, because we have the Pride Pod coming up next. We are Loud and Proud Orlando, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, X, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as Loud and Proud Orlando, LPO_podcast. And we'll see you guys this Thursday, right?
Yes, indeed. Vamos, Orlando. Thank you guys for your support.
Vamos, Orlando. Have a